You don't have to follow the typical read before bed or always have a book in hand routines if they don't suit you. I've managed to read around 100 books this year, and I'm not saying this to brag, it's genuinely one of the most fulfilling things I've done for myself. And you can get there too, but it's all about finding what really works for you. Let me share my journey and my tips to help you create your own approach to reading. Tip 1: find your ideal reading format. So let me start with a confession. I'm not a Kindle or ebook person, call me old fashioned, but I love holding a paper book, turning those pages, feeling the weight of it. But I'm so obsessed with audiobooks. You know, the kind with good narrators, sound effects, maybe even some music in the backgrounds. Audiobooks are this beautiful blend of storytelling and theater. It's almost like listening to a mini performance, and I absolutely love that. Now, I know not everyone feels the same way. Some people don't connect with audiobooks as deeply, and that's totally fine. We all have our own learning patterns. For me, though listening really stick, I remember everything better when I hear it. Sometimes I can even recall the narrator's exact tone or the background music in a particular scene. So think about what resonates with you. Maybe you're more visual, so physical books or ebooks are your thing. Or maybe like me, you thrive on audio. If you go to the audiobook route, there's an added bonus: multitasking. You can listen while driving, taking public transport, or even doing chores. I'll be cooking, washing dishes, or even eating lunch, and the story just flows along with me. It's honestly the best way to make use of those in between moments. And if you're not sure about audiobooks, give it a try, just for a chapter or two, and you might find you will enjoy it. Tip 2: find the right time. And you don't have to read before bed. Now I have to say something a bit unpopular here. I don't actually like reading before bed. I know the fantasy is so charming, cozy in bed with a good book to end the day, but if I'm reading a novel or something intense like history or philosophy or anything, my mind keeps going, and sleep, well, it's just not as calm. I found that if I read something more low key, like a personal development book or a short article on one of my favorite topics, that works way better for me at night. I'll admit though, it's probably a little weird. Does anyone else feels the same? The truth is, in this busy world, carving out time to read can be a challenge, and I found that you don't need a strict schedule to make it work. Instead of aiming for a rigid 1 hour day rule or I don't know, trying to get through 100 pages every day, I started with just 15 minutes. That's it, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And the best part, it doesn't even have to be daily. Weekly reading goals work too. You don't need to stress yourself out by thinking you have to read every single day. Try to find these little pockets of time in your week, whether it's on a coffee break or a weekend morning. A few minutes go a long way. Once you get into the rhythm, you'll start to notice more time where you can fit in those precious reading moments. Tip 3: pick books that resonate. And don't be afraid to drop what doesn't. This was a big shift for me. I used to feel like I had to finish every book I started, almost out of a sense of duty, but our time is so valuable. If a book isn't capturing your interest or adding something meaningful, it's so good to let it go. I realized that just because a book is popular or highly recommended doesn't mean it has to resonate with me personally. For example, although Atomic Habits is a fantastic book with tons of valuable insights, I just couldn't get through it. I ended up listening to a summary version instead, which was enough for me to take away the main points. Then there's another book, 100 Years of Solitude. I've actually started it twice now, and each time I couldn't finish it. I mean, it's a beautiful book with so much to offer, but for whatever reason, it hasn't held my focus. Maybe it will someday in the future. So let go of the guilt if you don't finish a book. You're not quitting, you're making room for stories and ideas that truly resonate with you. Life's too short to spend time on books that don't feel right. Embrace the freedom to put a book aside and pick up something else that excites you. And on the other hand, just because something is in book form doesn't automatically make it worth your time. Before I start a book, I try to do a quick check. I'll read a few reviews or do a simple Google search. This helped me figure out if it's really going to match my interest or give me something I want. Tip 4. Mix up your reading. Embrace multiple books at once. Here's where reading really becomes a tailored experience. I don't limit myself to just one book at a time. For some people, this might sound overwhelming, but for me, it keeps things dynamic and refreshing. The trick is to mix up the genres. Instead of having two novels going at once, which can get confusing, I'll choose a variety. Maybe a novel for a bit of escapism, a history or philosophy book to dive into new ideas, and a personal development book to learn new strategies for life. It's like giving my brain different flavors of content, and it helps prevent burnout with any one genre. This approach also means I can choose what I feel like reading based on my mood or energy level. Some days I might want a calm and reflective pace of a novel, while other days I'm in the mood for a challenging nonfiction topic that pushes me to think differently. Having options allow me to stay connected to reading without forcing myself to stick to one style or story when I'm not in the mood. Do you read more than one book at a time, or you like to focus on one from start to finish? Drop your thoughts below. And here's a bonus. Reading across different areas can help you start connecting ideas between topics. You might notice patterns, themes, or interesting insights that overlap in surprising ways, which makes the reading experience so much richer. It's like creating your own personal curriculum covering areas you're passionate about. Plus, it's a fantastic way to introduce yourself to different types of books and build a well rounded base of knowledge. So, if you haven't tried it, maybe give multiple book reading a chance. You just might find it opens up a whole new way to enjoy reading. So that's it, my tips to help you dive into reading more. Thanks for being here, and I hope these tips help you find your own rhythm with reading and maybe even inspire you to pick up that next book. Because whether you read 10 books this year or 100, the journey itself is what matters.